Hello, my friends. Welcome to Summit. We're talking about the Feast of the Epiphany. What is Epiphany? The revelation of Jesus Christ to the whole world, specifically to the Gentiles, people who are not Jewish. When we say Gentiles, we mean people who are not Jewish. And Epiphany celebrates, if you're familiar with the story, the coming of three wise men, maybe three kings, maybe three magi. Really what we're talking about is three astrologers, but we'll get to that in a minute, to come and see Jesus. These people are not Jewish, and yet they have a revelation of the Lord incarnate in the flesh. What do you see when you look at your faith? Is it just ordinary? Think about it. Think about Christmas. We just celebrated Christmas, and Christmas is really a profoundly powerful holiday. We are talking about this audacious belief that the God of the universe, before creation, present at creation, eternal and mysterious, chooses a moment in history to become incarnate, human flesh, fully God and fully man, to be born through the human life cycle. You got to remember, Jesus just doesn't appear out of nowhere. He's born. He goes through natural human birth, lives a human life, experiences all things we experience except sin, and Christmas celebrates that reality. Yet for those of us who are in the boat, we can become numb to that, can't we? The awe and majesty of what Christmas brings. Have you ever had something like that, where something that someone else sees just as extraordinary, you're like, it's okay. Sometimes we get that way with talents or skills we have that we're just used to it. Maybe you're really good at art. I've got members of my family who are really great artists. I'm a terrible artist. Every time I see them draw something, I'm like, that is incredible. How did you do that? But they're so used to just being a great artist, they're like, it's not a big deal. It's whatever. Maybe your parents work on classic cars. Some dads, some moms really like classic cars. So maybe they're into that sort of thing, and your friends come over and they're like, this is incredible, but you're like, yeah, it's whatever. We can fall victim to this, yeah, it's whatever. It's not a big deal, because we become numb to things. But in our day and age, we can't. Because numbness in our day and age isn't just going to lead us to nothingness or numbness. It's going to terminate in darkness. Let's work through the readings. In our second reading today, St. Paul is talking about this reality that Jesus Christ has come for people who are not in the boat, as well as people who are in the boat. He's come for the Gentiles. And St. Paul is talking specifically about his ministry to the Gentiles. He's being sent to these people, and the mystery's been made known to them. And this is then reinforced in the first reading. It's actually a prophecy from Isaiah about a light of the world showing to all people, all nations. We sing that in the psalm today. We're going to talk about how, the Lord, every nation on earth will adore you. God has come for all people in all times and all circumstances. Let's take a look at the gospel for a second, though. This is where we get that story of those magi. Now, the magi, sometimes we say they're like three kings. They probably weren't kings. They may have been part of like a royal court. We sometimes say they were wise men. But like, what does that mean? Typically, they're depicted as three with crowns. We don't know if there were three. We know there were three gifts. And so traditionally, we associate three kings with three gifts, three wise men, three magi with three gifts. Traditionally, you have the names Melchior, Caspar, and Balthazar. Great children names for 2021 if you're looking for some. But we don't know if there were three. There may have been two. They brought three gifts. We knew there were a couple. So there's at least two and maybe more. But they bring gold, frankincense, and myrrh. And these gifts foreshadow Jesus' ministry, his death, his royalty. And these magi, who are probably astrologers, if you look at, they're looking at the stars. So these are people who are pagans also, by the way. So they might worship a couple gods, which is why they're looking at the stars. They see this sign in the sky, and they go because they see this thing, and they're like, this must mean the birth of not just a king, but a great king. And they're intrigued so much by this, they travel towards the direction of this celestial event. Now, if you pause for a second, if you've been following the news, just a week ago there was a celestial event where Jupiter and Saturn actually aligned very closely. They call it like the Christmas star, where it formed just a very it formed a celestial event, like not necessarily this bright star the way we think of it, but it's something out of the ordinary. In fact, the last time it happened was 800 years ago, and the next time it's going to be happen is many, many years in the future. And some people looking back at star charts have even postulated that an event like this occurred around 2 BCE, roughly around the time of the birth of Christ. So maybe the astrologers, these magi, saw something like that, and they went to Jesus. Now, these are not people who are in the boat. These are pagans. These are people who, even under Jewish law, they're kind of an abomination. They worship false gods. They violate the 10 Commandments. And yet, these are some of the first people who see Jesus. Now, let's put them in comparison with the other character in the gospel, Herod. Herod is a Jew. Herod is a part of the nation Israel. He is religious kin to Jesus. And yet, he refuses to see the work that God is doing. He's fearful of what it might mean to him. He's even numb in a way to God's glory. Herod has sold out to the Roman state. He's just really in league with the government of the time, and he doesn't see what God is doing. He only is concerned with himself or what this might mean for him. And so rather than wanting to go to see this new king, wanting to go to see what this event is all about, he's afraid. He tries to avoid it. And his numbness puts him in darkness. See, Herod sold out on his religion a long time ago when he started really working for Rome and started to oppress his own people. So though he was a person in the boat, he had become numb to God's glory, numb to the work that God was doing, and he wasn't able to see it, and people outside were. Here's the risk and the call for us today as people who are, maybe we consider ourselves in the boat. We are going to be unable to see what God is doing in our life if we are numb to our faith. We're going to sit in darkness if we are numb to what God wants to do in our life. And I think this is really where we have to lean in then to prayer, where we have to lean into awe and wonder of what God is doing, where we can't allow ourselves to be numb. If you find yourself numb to God's work, then you have a new resolution in 2021. Draw close again. Let faith become new. Allow the love of the Lord to shine upon you again. In the first reading from Isaiah, the first couple lines provide profound hope for anybody who would listen. This is what Isaiah says many, many years before Jesus is born. Rise up in splendor, Jerusalem. Your light has come. The glory of the Lord shines upon you. See, darkness covers the earth, and thick clouds cover the peoples. But upon you the Lord shines, and over you appears his glory. The Lord wants to do some incredible things in 2021. The Lord wants to make light shine in a dark time, and light shine in your life. The light of the world came into the world to dispel darkness. The Magi went to see that light. Herod chose to remain in darkness. This year, are you going to choose to see that light and to walk toward it? Or are you going to allow yourself to be numb and in darkness, refusing to see God's glory and instead choosing to see only the places where your life maybe isn't what you hoped it would be, or the places even you're afraid of what God wants to do in your life? Lean into the light, rise up in splendor, and go. Approach Jesus with a new awe and wonder as we enter into this new year, and allow God to do something incredible for you. The Magi went back to their country by a different way, and there's a powerful metaphor here for a change of heart. They went a different way. They were changed after seeing Jesus in person. May we be changed this Christmas season and this Epiphany as well.